In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Then He said, "Let there be light," and there was light. He then separated light from darkness. He called light day and darkness night. This was the first day. Then the Lord separated the sky and the waters. This was the second day. On the third day, the Lord created the ground and gathered the water, which was called sea. He then let the land produce plants, trees, and different vegetation, and God saw that this was good. On the fourth day, the Lord said, "Let there be lights in the sky." He made the stars and moon to mark sacred times and days and years. And God created the birds and the creatures of the sky and the seas, and ordered them to increase in number and to fill the world. This was the fifth day. On the sixth day, the Lord created living creatures on the ground. He also created mankind in His own likeness. He made man the steward of the world that He had so beautifully created. On the seventh day, the Lord rested. We all know the story of the first man that was formed from clay, and Eve, the first woman that came from a man. Eve was deceived by the serpent when he offered the forbidden fruit to her husband, and he ate from it. Both were banished from the Garden of Eden. To Adam He said, "Because you listened to your wife and ate fruit from the tree about which I commanded you, you must not eat from it. Cursed is the ground because of you. Through painful toil, you will eat from it all the days of your life. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat the plants of the field. By the sweat of your brow, you will eat your food until you return to the ground. Since from it you were taken, for dust you are, and to dust you will return." The earth is a living ecosystem that houses many creatures. It is made up of the crust, mantle, and core. The crust, which is the top 1% of the Earth's surface, is very important to us. This is where all the human activities happen. We should therefore protect and preserve this natural resource. The soil is a very diverse ecosystem. It is truly alive with activity. It houses several trillions of microorganisms such as fungi, bacteria, parasites, worms, and many more. Each of these microorganisms works symbiotically together to make healthy soil, to aerate, to maintain a certain pH, to degrade the organic substances, and to support plant life. From an agricultural standpoint, an ideal soil is a combination of clay, sand, and loam, rich in humus, diverse microorganisms, and filled with minerals. If the soil is alive, the question to ask ourselves is, can it die? And yes, the soil can die. And it is slowly dying due to irresponsible farming practices, contamination of heavy metals such as mercury, cadmium, and arsenic, throwing our garbage on it, the burning of fields, and repeated stripping of nutrients. Irresponsible farming practices include use of pesticides and herbicides. The use of harmful chemicals in plants and soil leads to leaching of chemicals and absorption into our food supply. We don't put back organic minerals on the soil anymore. When was the last time you saw a farmer round up manure, weeds, vermicast, and till the land? I have not seen this in the years I lived at our place. The poorly nourished plants cannot sustain the nutritional needs of our bodies. We suffer from diabetes, cancer, heart failure, and many more chronic illnesses because the soil is sick. Unless we do something about this, we are truly doomed. One of the most common problems that our society fails to address is not climate change, but one of the most harmful contaminants of industrial nations: mercury. Mercury is a heavy metal, a potent neurotoxin, and a global problem. This heavy metal is immortal and never degrades ever. It stays in our soil forever. It is one of the most common causes of Alzheimer's, cancer, and other chronic illnesses. The challenge right now for entrepreneurs, innovators, and businessmen is how to clean this beautiful world that the Lord gave us. We have to adopt organic, sustainable, and environment-friendly ways of growing our crops. Soil that is sick will produce plants that are equally sick and make the people who consume them ill as well. Plants are essential to life. All organisms rely on plants in some way as a source of food, shelter, clothing, medicine, and numerous others. Life is impossible without plants. As a medical doctor, phytoscientist, and inventor who works with plants and soil, I believe that the soil holds the magic in what I do. A minerally deficient soil cannot produce a healthy plant. A sick plant cannot cure, and a sick patient cannot continue for long. The earth is composed of systems, and if one system is upset, then the entirety of the world is compromised. I hope that with this small clip, I am able to open your minds to save the only planet we have. I'm Dr. Farah. I'm a licensed medical doctor. You're here in my farm in Victoria, Tarlac. The Dr. Farah Natural Medical Center. So we have a farm here. So in our farm, we practice biodiversity. So when you talk about biodiversity, it means that the ecology is likened to a forest. So, if you go to the forest, iba-iba naman yung mga halaman nila doon. There's root crops also, there's a lot of herbal medicine, and there are also a lot of trees. Okay, so if you look at my plants here, okay, like this part, so meron po akong hydrangea. So, I have to go here. So, I have hydrangea, I have cactus, katakataka. So, iba-iba siya. Because when you talk about biodiversity, the plant protects other plants, other weaker plants. For example, some insects, okay, they don't want the smell of marigold. So, it protects the other plants from being eaten by insects. So that's the purpose of biodiversity. Like here on this part of my garden or farm, I call it. So makikita nyo, there's marigold. Okay? So again, like what I said, yung kanina yung marigold, sobrang bango siya. So some insects, they don't like the smell of marigold. Kaya when you go to my farm, I do not have any mosquitoes. Like this is mayana, ano? So, mayana is good for if you had some wound, okay, it's also good.
kapag ka nagkaroon ka ng bale, okay, so lagyan mo siya ng coconut oil, tapos painit mo lang ng konti, tapos itapal mo siya, that's already good. So one of the plants also that I have is chichirika, this one. So this chichirika, this is very famous because it is used as an anti-cancer, primarily for leukemia, okay, and lymphoma. So magical yan sa akin, yung chichirika, because it can also be used for diabetes and hypertension. Okay, so you have, on this side, you have the zinnia. Ito, zinnia. So yung zinnia, this is good for fungal infection. So some patient, ang ginagawa nila, nilalagay lang nila doon sa pag meron silang fungal infection, so that's it. Okay, this is bangka-bangkaan. Okay, and you can boil it, and if you boil it, you can use it for asthma, or if you have cough, this is very good for that. So this is my lemon. Of course, you know, lemon is one of the greatest herbal medicine that was ever created. It can be used as a repellent, okay, insect repellent. Pwede mo rin siyang gamitin to alkalinize the body. Tapos maganda rin sa atin ang lemon, because when we have cough, we can also drink it. So this is my lemon. Okay, another one is the oleander. Okay, so the oleander, okay, usually in some literature, it's good for heart attack. But some literature says that it's very toxic to the body. I have tried using it in some of my experimentations, and luckily I have never killed anyone. At least for those that I have experimented with. For you, of course, the malunggay. So the malunggay, so it's very good for some people. They use it for as a perfume. So you can have the oil of it. It's quite expensive actually. Tapos pwede mo siyang gawing perfume. But for us Filipinos, syempre maganda siya na ilalagay mo sa mga pagkain, sa munggo, ano. And the good thing about malunggay, it's very rich in protein, and iron, magnesium. So it's actually one of the best herbal medicine that we have here in Phil. So this plant, this is Acapulco. So this Acapulco, this one. So what I usually do with the Acapulco is that I use it for patients who have eczema. Okay, so may mga kati-kati po sila, fungal infection, okay, and for any other skin diseases, scabies also. So what I usually do is I chop them into smaller pieces, and then I fry them using coconut oil, and then I put some beeswax on it, and then I make it into a paste. And that's what I put into my patient's skin. So it's very good. Hindi po kayo mapapahiya if you use Acapulco. This is one of my finest plant here. So it's called gluternate, okay? So yung flower niya, its color, okay, I'll just put it here. Yung flower niya, its color violet. It can be as deep as violet and blue. And sometimes it's red. So if you have a plant that has a color, ranging from red, pink, to purple, they're very rich in proanthocyanidins. Okay, so they have a high ORAC value. Mataas yung antioxidant property nila. I usually put this plant in my rice. Okay, so because some Filipinos, they love rice, like me, I also love rice. So we put it there and it colors the rice. So it actually enhances the color of the rice, and it's healthy pa kasi it's rich in proanthocyanidin. So this is katakataka. Okay? So katakataka, hindi po siya nakakapagtaka. Okay, katakataka, this is a herbal medicine, okay, that I usually give to patient na nagkaroon ng sprain, okay, sprain and strain. So usually this is what I do. What I tell the patient is that you have to put it in coconut oil. You have to heat it up first and put it in coconut oil, and then itapal lang. And then Usually, it's also good in pamamaga. So after nun, nawawala na yung pamamaga nila. So kata-kataka is one of the herbal medicines as well. Okay, this is a variety of oregano. And of course, oregano, that's the most antibacterial herb that was ever created. For me, at least for me. And it's good for cough, again, as an antibiotic, okay? And as an anti-inflammatory. So that's one of the best, also another best herbal medicine here in Phil. So every afternoon, nandito ako sa farm namin. Okay, so sometimes I look at the plants and the weeds because most of the weeds, they have medicinal property. So kung tatanggalin namin yung weeds para pataba sa lupa, some of them, I have to identify them first. Kasi yung ibang weeds, hindi naman sila dapat tanggalin. Meron silang medicinal property. Like ito, this one. This is sampasampalukan. So, this sampasampalukan, it's very good for patients who have stones. Okay, we call it stone breaker. So, usually this is the one that I tell my patient to drink if they have stones, gallstones, okay? So, dito naman, makikita mo, this one, this small, this is saluyot. So, saluyot, it's a vegetable. So, it's also a weed, okay? This one, okay. This one, this is a common weed, but this is purslane, okay? This purslane, it's actually eaten by some patient. It has an anti-cancer property and an anti-inflammatory property as well. Maganda rin po siya sa patients who have problems in the liver. So usually, yung mga patient, ito po yung kinakain nila. So the makahiya, it's a plant na pag hinawakan mo siya, nagko-close siya. So, ang effect niya sa katawan, okay, if we take it, it's actually very good for bronchial asthma. So some of the patient, I advise them to boil it so they can drink it, and when they drink it, it relieves them of difficulty of breathing. On this part of my farm, okay, so you can see kangkong. So there's a certain type of kangkong here, this one, and it's very good for patient who are having constipation. And they're also rich in iron. So, maganda siya. And then, you have the kamote, of course. You know, that's my favorite vegetable. One of my favorite vegetable. So, it also has an anti-cancer property. It's very good for diabetes and hypertension. And for patients who have problems with anemia. Okay? So, this one, they call yerba buena. You know, some patient, they call it yerba buena. In the US, mint, ganyan. So, if you talk about mint, marami kasi siyang family eh. So, basically, for a lay person, I just call it mint. Okay? So, when it's mint, maganda siya, you chew it. Pag mabaho yung hininga mo, may halitosis ka. So, this one can help alleviate that. Also, you can make it as a tea, para dun sa tiyan mo if you have problems with indigestion, tapos calming property, and it also has antibacterial property. So some patient, they usually drink this if they have cough or cold. So maganda siya. So may kinakain ko lang siya. Masarap siya. Okay? Medyo strong lang yung lasa. So ito naman, this is the tanglad. Ano pagkakaiba ng tanglad sa citronella? So, usually, pagka yung tanglad, if you look at pag ginawakan mo yung blades nila, ayan, smooth siya. Ayan. Yung citronella, pag ginawakan mo, magaspang. Tapos, pareho siya. Kailangan amuyin mo siya. Okay, so may amoy siya, which is a very aromatic smell. And again, this is good for hypertension because it is a diuretic. So it's good for patient who have problems in the urinary tract. Okay? So pag may bato ka din, okay, bato sa bato. So this is the best one for you as well. This is called horsetail kasi mukha siyang tail ng horse. Okay. Now, this is one of my precious medicinal herbs because it is rich in silica, okay, and it's very good for patients who have arthritis. Now, this is another magical thing about this herb. Okay, for those patients who have been vaccinated or you have aluminum exposure, the silica will actually bind with the aluminum to make it soluble, and then you will just pee it. So that's one of the ways that we can detoxify our body of aluminum. This is one of my magical plants. It's actually one of the first plant that I ever had in this farm. And I was so intrigued with this plant because if you look at them, tingnan mo dito sa gilid ng plant, okay? There's like this, small sprouts. And these small sprouts will actually fall in the soil. And when they fell in the soil, they will make a lot of babies. So some of the people, they call it mother of thousands. So that's one of the names that they call it. So it's actually one of the most fascinating plants I have ever seen in my life. This, sumisibol pa lang siya na sili. So sili is one of the, if you look at my book, it's one of the top 17 amazing herbs in my book. And I think if this is not number 1, I think it's number 2. Because the sili, because of the chemical component capsaicin, it's a very good anti-inflammatory and a pain reliever. So, ito siya. Actually, some of my plants here, I really didn't plant them. So, they just grew because of the a lot of organisms that live in my farm. Primarily bees, butterflies. So, that's also one of the reasons why we practice organic farming. Kasi we do not want the bees to die. We do not want these beautiful insects to die. So, like the dragonflies, the butterflies, we don't want them to be gone because they are part of reproduction of some of the plants. So that's one of the reasons why we do not want to practice other ways of farming aside from organic farming. So this plant, medyo sira-sira na siya. This is a rose, okay? So this is a rose bush. Don't know if it's still a rose bush. So the rose, usually the petals, okay, it's edible. I think in Manila there are some restaurants that are actually serving petal rose, to their clients. Tapos makikita nyo rito sa ilalim niya, this plant. This is Damong Maria or Artemisia vulgaris. So because of the active component artemisinin, it is a potent anti-cancer. As far as I know, in the US, I think it's selling for a pound. I think it's selling for $1,000 US. I'm just not so sure. This is alugbati. Okay. A couple of years ago, I had a problem with my bowel movement. So I was trying some herbs back then, and one of the best herb that I discovered to make your bowel movement regular is alugbati. And the thing about alugbati is, for me, it's a wonder drug, because a wonder plant, okay? Because the leaves, okay, you can make a poultice out of it, and then you can put it in boils, mga pigsa. Tapos pwede mo siyang kainin. Of course, it's a vegetable, and it's rich in iron, magnesium. So those are one of the components of this. And it's also a diuretic and used for weight loss treatment. So maraming ideas actually ang ang herbal medicine, because we have around 15,000 medicinal plants here in the Philippines, and it's just I think it's just 1,500 that has been explored. So there's still a lot of rooms for the medicinal plant, you know, for that industry to grow. And I think in the future, like what I said, natural medicine is the future of medicine. And I really believe that in the future, most doctors will not be prescribing any more synthetic medicine, but instead, they will advise their patient to plant, and then these plants would be used for their medicine. So this is kamyas. Okay, I just planted them. Now, kamyas, okay, it's not only used for cooking sinigang, you know. What I do with kamyas, the best thing is for patients who have hemorrhoids. Okay? So what I tell my patient is that they boil the leaves of the kamyas and they do hot sitz bath. Okay? For those who do not know how to do hot sitz bath, you just chop the leaves, put it in boiling water, and then after that, you let it cool, and then you let the patient sit on the steam. With kamyas also, one of the magical things that I discovered about kamyas in my research is that it's also used in lice. Pagka may mga kuto-kuto ka, the lice doesn't like the smell of kamyas. So how do you do it? It's actually very technical, but I will summarize it. You make a paste, and then you put it in your head. And then you wait for a couple of hours, and then you rinse it. And then it's supposed to repel all the lice. So we're here at the different part of my farm. So you can see this is guava. So this plant is guava. Okay, guava, okay, this is one of the miracle plant, okay, for mothers. Okay, why? A couple of years ago, I think there was one report in, if I'm not mistaken, it was in a big TV network. And there was this man who had a daughter that was having diarrhea. So because he was so poor, he wasn't able to bring this child to a medical facility. And eventually, when he really has to, you know, after the child has been pooping, vomiting, you know, the child died due to dehydration and diarrhea. And that story stuck in my head. It stuck in my head for a long time, because I realized that just because of ignorance of the medicinal plant, some people can die. You know, if people knew that the guava can actually cure diarrhea 95% of the time, then, you know, no one should die of diarrhea or dehydration. So, besides being an anti-diarrheic plant, okay, guava is also used as an antiseptic. So, some businessmen, what they're doing is that they're putting this in facial wash, you know, in washes in sabon. So, because it has an antiseptic property. You know, it's very clever, you know. And again, if you really know about herbal medicines, you can make a paste out of this. You can also make a cream, an ointment out of the guava leaves, you know. When you know about herbal medicine, the world is your oyster. What we do is that sometimes we have this, we remove the weeds manually and then we let them dry. So that's already part of green manuring. Some farmers, what they do is that they plant some mungo, which is rich in proteins, and then afterwards they till on it. Parang ano lang nila, parang tinotoil lang nila, binibury na nila minsan doon sa land, sa soil. So pagka binibury na nila doon sa soil, nagiging part na rin siya ng soil, pagkain na rin siya ng soil. So what we also do is that we also have vermicast. Okay, so we have a small vermicultures here. Well, this is just one of the herbs that I have in my farm. So there is still plenty of herbs So I advise you to come here and visit us at Dr. Farah Natural Medical Center and then to see my farm.